Have you ever noticed how your priorities start to shift as you get older? Things that once seemed so important, like keeping a busy social calendar or staying connected with a large group of friends, begin to feel less essential. Somewhere along the way, you realize that peace and personal freedom might just be more valuable than constant companionship. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, it can be one of the most empowering realizations of your later years. If you're in your mid-60s, 70s, or beyond, you've already lived a rich life full of people, places, and experiences. You've likely built a career, raised a family, and navigated the ups and downs of countless relationships. And now, perhaps for the first time, you're being given something precious, the opportunity to focus on yourself without guilt. This isn't about cutting people off or choosing isolation. It's about understanding that your happiness no longer depends on how many people you surround yourself with. It's about letting go of the pressure to maintain relationships that drain your energy and embracing the calm that comes when you prioritize your own well-being. In this video, we're going to explore 6 powerful reasons why you don't actually need a large circle of friends after 70. From reclaiming your time to finding joy in your own company, each reason is a step toward a life that's simpler, lighter, and deeply fulfilling. So grab a cup of coffee, settle into your favorite chair, and let's talk about why embracing independence in your golden years might just be the best gift you could ever give yourself. 1. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. One of the greatest freedoms that comes with age is this simple truth. You no longer have to prove yourself to anyone. Think back to your younger years. How much of your time was spent trying to be liked, to fit in, to be respected? Whether it was climbing the career ladder, raising a family, or navigating social circles, there was always that underlying pressure to be enough. Enough of a good parent, a reliable employee, a loyal friend, or even just someone others wanted to be around. We all did it. Maybe it was making small talk at office parties we didn't enjoy, or agreeing to social plans when we were already stretched too thin, or keeping up appearances in communities, churches, or friend groups, even when it felt more like an obligation than a joy. But now you've reached a chapter in life where you can finally let all of that go. At this stage, your worth doesn't come from how many people admire you or how busy your calendar looks. It comes from the life you've lived, the values you've held, and the wisdom you've earned along the way. You've already done the hard work. You've built your story. You don't need anyone's approval to validate it. Take someone like Harold, a retired engineer from Ohio. For decades, he was known as the go-to guy in his workplace. Respected, surrounded by people, always in demand. But once he retired, those relationships quickly faded. At first, he felt the urge to keep calling, checking in, trying to stay connected. But eventually, he asked himself a hard question. Were those real friendships or just tied to the job? The answer surprised him. So Harold stopped chasing those old ties and started leaning into what he truly enjoyed: woodworking, gardening, and spending quiet mornings with a hot cup of coffee and no obligations. And guess what? He didn't miss the noise. That's the thing. When you're no longer trying to prove anything, you discover how much energy you were pouring into relationships that didn't give much back. You realize that your peace matters more than other people's opinions. In fact, many older adults find that once they stop worrying about being liked or needed, they finally feel free to live authentically. There's power in choosing how you spend your time, in saying no thank you without guilt, and in knowing that who you are is enough without explanation. So if you've ever felt like you're drifting away from certain people or activities, don't see it as a loss. See it as growth. You're not pulling back. You're stepping into a new kind of confidence, one that says, I don't need to prove anything anymore. I've already done enough. And that in itself is a beautiful place to be. 2. Peace becomes more valuable than socializing. As we move into our later years, something subtle but powerful begins to shift. The buzz and busyness of socializing, once so central to our lives, starts to lose its appeal. And in its place, a deeper appreciation grows for something far more precious: peace. In earlier decades, being social often felt like a necessity. Whether it was juggling PTA meetings, work functions, neighborhood barbecues, or holiday get-togethers, there always seemed to be somewhere to be and someone to connect with. Socializing wasn't just a part of life. It was woven into our identity. Being seen, included, invited, it all mattered. But after 65 or 70, your perspective naturally begins to change. It's not that you suddenly dislike people. It's that the energy you once spent trying to keep up now feels better spent on things that soothe your spirit instead of exhaust it. Peace in this season of life becomes a form of wealth. Take Margaret, for instance. She's 74, lives in North Carolina, and used to be the social butterfly of her church and community center. Her calendar was full of potlucks, birthday brunches, and weekly phone calls, but slowly she began to notice that those gatherings left her feeling more drained than fulfilled. The conversations became repetitive, the energy sometimes tense, and many friendships started to feel more like routines than genuine connections. One afternoon, after declining yet another invitation she didn't feel excited about, Margaret sat on her porch with a glass of iced tea and a book she'd been meaning to finish for years. As she listened to the wind rustling through the trees, she realized something simple but profound. This is the kind of connection I want right now. Me, the quiet, and the world around me. It's not about isolating yourself. It's about choosing intentional stillness over obligatory noise. That might look like starting your morning slowly, without the ping of phone alerts or social obligations. It could be spending a quiet hour in the garden or walking around the block with nothing but your thoughts for company. These aren't signs of loneliness. They're signs of alignment. And when peace becomes your priority, you start letting go of the guilt that used to come with saying no. You no longer feel bad about skipping a lunch that doesn't spark joy or leaving a conversation early when it turns negative or draining. You realize your time, energy, and presence are precious, and you no longer give them away just because it's expected. In this chapter of life, peace isn't the absence of people. It's the presence of yourself. And sometimes that quiet afternoon on the porch is worth more than a dozen conversations. 3. Fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. One of the most surprising lessons that comes with age is this: having fewer friendships can actually bring more peace and fewer heartaches. By the time you've reached your mid-60s or 70s, chances are you've experienced your share of disappointments in relationships. Friends who disappeared when times got tough. People you supported for years who didn't show up when you needed them. One-sided friendships where the effort always seemed to come from you. It hurts, no matter how old we are. But here's the truth many people discover later in life. The smaller your social circle, the more meaningful it becomes. Because when you let go of the pressure to maintain every friendship from every season of your life, you also let go of the disappointments that come with unmet expectations. Think about William, a 78-year-old from Arizona. He used to keep a long list of contacts, people he'd known from work, from his golf club, from his neighborhood. But over time, he started to notice something. He was always the one reaching out. When he stopped calling, the silence on the other end was deafening. At first, he took it personally, but then he realized something important. He wasn't losing friends. He was learning who was truly in his corner. Letting go of distant or draining relationships doesn't mean you're bitter or closed off. It means you're choosing quality over quantity. You're choosing peace over pressure. And you're freeing yourself from the emotional roller coaster that comes from always wondering who really cares. Instead of juggling a dozen shallow friendships, many older adults find comfort in just one or two deep, reliable connections, or even just their own company. Because in this stage of life, what matters most isn't how many people are around you. It's how you feel when you're with them, or when you're simply by yourself. Fewer friendships, fewer letdowns, and a whole lot more clarity. 4. Your time becomes more precious. As the years go by, one thing becomes undeniably clear. Time is your most valuable resource. In your younger days, time might have felt endless. There was always tomorrow, always next weekend, always more space to fit in one more lunch date or one more favor for someone else. But somewhere around your mid-60s or 70s, your view of time changes. You begin to feel the weight of each hour, each morning, each quiet evening. And with that shift comes a powerful realization. You get to decide how your time is spent. Friendships, while meaningful, require time and energy. There are phone calls to return, visits to make, birthdays to remember, and sometimes even emotional weight to carry. And while some of those connections bring joy and comfort, others feel more like tasks on a to-do list. Take Richard, an 82-year-old Navy veteran from Florida. He spent years keeping up with an active social life, group dinners, weekly poker nights, and long phone calls with old friends. But over time, he found himself feeling drained instead of fulfilled. It wasn't that he didn't care about these people. It's just that the pace no longer fit the rhythm of his life. So he made a change. He started saying no without guilt. He carved out quiet mornings for himself, sipped coffee on his back porch without answering the phone, and traded chatter for solitude. And he found something unexpected. Time became richer when it was his own. When you stop giving your time away out of habit or obligation, you open the door to things that truly nourish you. Whether that's reading, walking in the park, spending time with grandkids, or simply enjoying the silence. At this stage in life, you don't owe your time to anyone. You've earned the right to use it however you please, and the more intentional you become with your time, the more meaningful every minute feels. Because when you honor your time, you honor yourself. 5. True companionship comes from within. There's a quiet truth that becomes clearer with age. The most reliable, comforting, and lasting companion you'll ever have is yourself. For much of life, we're taught to seek connection outside of ourselves. We're encouraged to build relationships, to stay busy, to surround ourselves with people, because being alone is often mistaken for being lonely. But in your 60s, 70s, and beyond, that mindset begins to shift. You've lived a full life. You've raised families, built careers, kept homes, and supported friends. Through all those chapters, you've learned, adapted, and grown. And now, maybe for the first time, you have the space to get to know you again. Not just as a parent or spouse or neighbor, but as the person underneath all the roles. That kind of self-connection is a gift. Take Eleanor, a 76-year-old former school teacher from Oregon. For decades, she filled her days with people, students, colleagues, neighbors, extended family. Her calendar was always packed, but after retirement and some life changes, she found herself spending more time alone. At first, it felt unfamiliar, but over time, something shifted. She started going on morning walks by herself, listening to the birds and the wind. She journaled in the evenings with a cup of chamomile tea. She picked up painting again, not to impress anyone, but because it made her feel alive. And slowly, she began to enjoy her own company. Not out of necessity, but by choice. That's the beauty of it. When you enjoy spending time with yourself, you stop depending on others for validation, entertainment, or conversation. You begin to discover peace in stillness, joy in small rituals, and strength in solitude. This doesn't mean you push others away. It means you build a strong, steady relationship with the one person who will always be with you. You. Because at the end of the day, the deepest sense of connection doesn't come from how many people you talk to. It comes from how at home you feel with yourself. 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. One of the most powerful and freeing things you can do in your later years is this: let go. Let go of the pressure to keep friendships that feel one-sided. Let go of the need to show up when your heart's not in it. Let go of the old belief that a full life requires a full social calendar. Because the moment you release those expectations, you create space for something far better. A life that feels calm, meaningful, and truly yours. For much of life, we hold on to people, routines, and social habits simply because we always have. Maybe it's the friend who only calls to complain, or the group gathering you attend out of guilt rather than joy. These things become so familiar, we forget to ask ourselves a simple question: is this still serving me? James, a 77-year-old from Minnesota, found himself asking just that. For years, he made a point to stay in touch with old high school buddies. But over time, those conversations became stale, centered around the past rather than the present. He began to feel more drained than uplifted after each call, so he gently let them go. Instead, he filled his time with things that brought him peace: biking along the lake, learning to bake with his granddaughter, volunteering twice a week at the local library. And you know what? He felt lighter, happier, more in tune with himself than he had in decades. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're making room for joy, for new interests, for deeper peace. It's about recognizing that fulfillment isn't found in the number of people around you. It's found in how true you are to yourself. When you stop living by old expectations and start following your own rhythm, life becomes simpler and more beautiful. So ask yourself, what can I let go of today to live more fully tomorrow? As you move into your golden years, there's a beautiful truth waiting to be embraced. You don't need a crowd to feel whole. Letting go of certain friendships or stepping back from social obligations isn't a sign of loneliness or bitterness. It's a reflection of growth. It's about honoring your own rhythm, choosing what brings peace, and recognizing that your happiness no longer depends on external validation. Over the course of your life, you've given your time, energy, and heart to others. You've built relationships, carried responsibilities, and poured into your community. Now you have full permission to pour that same love and attention into yourself. Choosing solitude, setting boundaries, or releasing friendships that no longer serve you doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world. It means opening the door to a more intentional, fulfilling life, one where your days are filled with things and people that truly matter to you. You've earned this freedom, freedom to slow down, freedom to say no without guilt, freedom to enjoy a quiet morning, a favorite book, a peaceful walk, or a new hobby, all without needing anyone's approval. And as you do, you'll likely discover something wonderful. The more you align your life with what truly feels right, the more joy you'll find in the little things. Not because someone else told you to, but because you chose them. So take a deep breath and step confidently into this next chapter. It's not about having more friends, it's about having more peace. And that just might be the most rewarding friendship of all, the one you build with yourself. If something in today's video made you nod, smile, or think twice about yourself in a good way, let us know. Which of these signs felt familiar? Drop a comment below and share your experience. I read every single one, and your story could truly encourage someone else watching. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you don't miss future content made just for men like you. Thanks for watching, and remember, your best years might just be the ones you're living right now.